YouTube, it's Fallon, and today I have a little bit of an uncomfortable or sad topic. As you can tell by the title of this video, Bret and I unfortunately had a miscarriage. Now, I titled the video Miscarriage Announcement because something's really bothering me. Just so you know, I have videos and pictures throughout all of this as I tell you the story. So we found out I was pregnant on May 29th, and we were so excited. We got pregnant our first month trying. It was so sweet. We were excited that Revy and this baby were gonna be so close together, and all my siblings, my closest one is 5 years older than me, and then I have two more that are 10 and 12 years older than me, so I was just so excited for Reveille to have a sibling so close in age to her. You know, it was a really awesome moment, and I told Bret right away. I had this video that I had already pre-made because I wanted to tell him in a silly way, and showed him the video, and he was excited. And
You're filming me?
I was trying to film her, but it wasn't working.
Oh my goodness.
You can barely see it, but it's there.
How long ago was this?
Today.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? You know, everything was good. We told a handful of people, but not a lot. Just, you know, parents, grandparents. I told my siblings, but we actually found out something was happening before we told Bret's siblings, so we hold it off on telling them. And then basically I started getting cramping, and it wasn't going away, and then I had a really nasty fall in the shower, and I hit my right hip really hard, and I just was having a ton of hip pain after that and a lot of cramping, and I just got really worried. I didn't have any bleeding, but so fast forward, and we moved, and I called the doctor, and I said, look, like, I wasn't supposed to have my first ultrasound until July 17th, and this was back in June that I called, and I said, look, I'm having a lot of cramping. I just feel like something's wrong. I'm not having bleeding though. So they brought me in, they took my HCG blood levels, and they did an ultrasound because I was supposed to be 8 weeks. Just got blood drawn. Yeah.
Yolk sac here.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna do real good.
Mm-hmm.
Measure the yolk sac, because depending on how big it is,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't see an embryo.
So they did the ultrasound, and at first she couldn't find the baby at all. And then they sent me right away the same day, it was June 28th, to the hospital next door that had a better machine that was more specialized. And so, you know, a couple hours later, I went to that hospital, and they did another ultrasound, and they found the baby, but the heartbeat was only 78. And the baby was only measuring 6 weeks and 1 day. So right away, we kind of were preparing for the worst. I believe the heartbeat is supposed to be around 100, somewhere around there, and so it was very slow. That being said, a lot of babies, their heartbeats start at 6 weeks, so they weren't sure what to make of it yet. So they scheduled me another ultrasound for the following week and said to come back, and we'll see, you know, if the baby's grown, where we're at. we came back, they did the ultrasound. The lady was so quiet the whole time, and we just knew right away something was wrong. And normally it was done on a weekend. Normally they do the ultrasound and then my doctor would call with results. But instead they did the ultrasound and then they brought in the radiologist right away. And I think Bret and I both knew immediately that we were miscarrying when we saw him. But he was very nice and he said, you know, I'm so sorry, but it looks like you're miscarrying. There's no heartbeat. The baby hasn't grown. And he kind of prepared us for, you know, you're going to start bleeding soon and cramping. So he said, go home and get some rest. So that's what we did. And that night, that Saturday night, I started bleeding. We went through the weekend. My cramping got worse. And then Monday came. Mind you, Bret's working during all of this. And Monday came, and Monday was the worst for me. The cramping, since I have had a baby, I know this feeling, and the cramping was definitely contractions. It's not just menstrual cramps. I was having contractions, which makes sense because your body's trying to push everything out. And that lasted all day Monday. They never got to as severe as when you deliver a full-term baby, but they were, you know, painful and very uncomfortable. Monday evening, we, how do I put this? We lost the baby.
This is so hard. I can't. Such a cat. Ruby with her Cheerios.
And we got my blood drawn again, and my HCG was still incredibly high. It was in above 11,000 when it was supposed to be in the 400 range. So they brought me back in for another ultrasound because once they saw my HCG was high, they looked back at the previous ultrasounds and realized there was a second structure. So they waited and brought me in for another ultrasound, so that enough time had passed to see, you know, were we looking at a second baby, what's going on. The plot thickens.
That it does.
What did the doctor say?
That the plot thickens?
That's exactly, no. So they just called. Yesterday we had my HCG drawn and it was still very, very high when I should be at like the 400 level, and it was like above 1,000. Crazy. And
It's
so
over 9,000.
yeah. So they looked back at my ultrasounds and discovered there was a second structure. So basically now on Tuesday we have an appointment for another ultrasound to see if there was a second baby, if the second baby lived, what happened. So we'll see. And we'll go from there. Anyways, it's crazy, huh?
Crazy, crazy.
Yep. And by then, my body had cleared everything out, so there wasn't a baby in there. They can't confirm, but it was confident that it was twins. And because the second structure was measuring 6 weeks and a day as well. However, we never got to fully look at that structure. It was in the same gestational sac though. And then, so basically, after they did the other ultrasound, they said, you know, there's no babies in there, and that's all cleared out, but you do still have blood and tissue in your uterus. So they decided to put me on Misoprostol to continue the contractions and continue the bleeding. Now at this last ultrasound, I actually stopped bleeding that day. I had been bleeding for 11 days straight and it was pretty miserable. And I stopped bleeding that day, so to still have, you know, blood there and everything, it was a little concerning. So they put me, I took 1 dose of this, and then 6 hours later, if nothing had happened, I was supposed to take a second dose. So I did the first dose, nothing happened, no bleeding, no cramping, nothing. Took the second dose, 6 hours later, slight cramping, but still nothing, no bleeding. I felt pretty fine, except the medicine made me very nauseous. So call the doctor, a day goes by, and they decide to have me do a second round of it. And I just took the first dose of this second round. So now we're waiting. It says I should get cramping and bleeding and all of that stuff. The first round, the 2 doses just made me really nauseous, and that was it. So I'm really anxious about this. And of course, Bret goes back to work tomorrow. He had 3 days off when we were doing this, and now since it's not working, he goes back to work tomorrow, and it's just like, ugh. So yeah, we'll see. So again, I took the first dose and nothing happened. 6 hours later, I woke up at midnight for this and took the second dose. And I had a ton of cramping after that second dose. Not contractions, but just really hard cramping. But there was no bleeding at all. So finally, they drew my blood again, and my levels had dropped in a week from above 11,000 to 340 for my HCG. So they decided to, and where I'm at now is they've decided to give my body a couple weeks, and they're gonna draw my blood every week to make sure my levels are going down. If my levels don't go down, which it doesn't seem like that's what's happening, but if my levels don't go down, then they will do a DNC. However, my levels seem to be going down, so hopefully they'll follow them down to below a 5, and then we'll be able to be done with this and it'll be over. 4 to 6 weeks after your levels are below a 5, that you should start your period, and then you can try again. Going back, 2 things. One, you know, a lot of people, especially when I say I've had a miscarriage, or the doctors, they're all like, oh, you can try again, you try again. And there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with trying again after. However, we've decided to not try again for a while because this was very mentally exhausting and emotionally exhausting and physically exhausting. And I feel like if we tried again and I got pregnant again soon after, that I would still be hung up on this miscarriage, and I wouldn't be enjoying my pregnancy as much as I feel I should be able to. I wouldn't be enjoying this next baby as much as I feel I should be able to. I would be worried a lot more. And I just feel that it's best for me to recoup for my family, for my daughter, and for the future child when we do decide to try again. Reveille, you know, I was home alone taking care of her during all of this, and there were a couple days where I didn't feel like I could get up off the couch, and this poor little girl is stuck in this place with me. And, you know, thankfully Bret came home from work and took her to the playground, took her on a walk, but she definitely got sick of being inside doing nothing. And that's just not fair to her. So I just want to focus a little more on her now. Obviously, this has made me appreciate her even more, as if I didn't already appreciate her, but even more because it really shows the miracle of life and how lucky we are. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was the title of this video, the miscarriage announcement part. That's kind of my way of rebelling, I guess. When we found out we were pregnant, like I said, we told a few people, just a handful, and they were all very excited. And then when I started miscarrying, we told those people I was miscarrying, and we told a few other people who were close to me that, you know, this is what's going on right now with us. And everyone just was saying, oh, like, you know, everyone was so nice, and no one meant this in a place of like being mean or making me upset or anything at all. They all were just coming from a good place, and I understand that. But everyone was like, well, that's why you don't tell people until you're further along. If we want to share that we're pregnant, that is our right. It's our right to celebrate whatever life, however long it is, however we want to. We wanted this life to be known. We wanted it out there. And when we started miscarrying and having to tell everyone, yeah, it's never fun telling everyone that, but we didn't regret telling people that we were pregnant before. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. You do not have to wait until 12 weeks or however long to tell people you're pregnant. So instead of just titling this my miscarriage story or something like that, I said miscarriage announcement because I didn't do a pregnancy announcement, obviously. Oh, there's a giant spider on the curtain. Don't touch it. Do not touch it. Anyways, I just feel that if someone wants to share that they're pregnant and then has to share that they've had a miscarriage, that was their choice. That's how they wanted the news to be. And it's not your place to say, that's why you wait. And you know, with our next baby, we might announce it as soon as we find out, or we might wait until we're 12 weeks. It's whatever we are comfortable with. And no matter what we do, that's okay. And even if we have to go through another miscarriage. I hope this video helps, because miscarriage is a taboo topic still, even though we're trying to make it not. And having experienced this, so many women I know went through miscarriages that I didn't know. It's a very difficult thing to go through, and it's kept secret most of the time. I felt very alone going through it because it's just me and my daughter. My husband's at work. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye!